Urbanization developed in the Gilded Age because job opportunities were offered by millionaire industries. Cities offered more jobs for unskilled workers, and technology provided for cheap housing. All across the United States, cities were being flooded by the hopeful lower class in hopes of finding a job. Urbanization is the physical growth of urban cities after migration from rural areas. Unfortunately, these vast migrations also brought along adverse effects, which included poor housing, health, working conditions, and political machines. Slums and tenements were common in the urban areas, and were often dirty and unsanitary because of the dense populations. Slums were squalid and often overcrowded urban streets or districts inhabited by the lower class. Tenements were located in slums, and they were small apartments at a cheap cost with indecent lighting, limited space, poor ventilation, and were often overcrowded. In addition to poor housing, disease and low sanitation rates were very common due to overcrowding. Poor sanitation systems, sewage flooding, horse manure, and factory pollution affected the urban populations. There was also no fresh water for drinking, and little or no indoor plumbing. Diseases such as salmonella, syphilis, and cholera spread quickly. The Gilded Age also marked some of the worst working conditions that America has ever seen. Most people worked 12 to 16-hour days, 6 days a week, with $2 to $3 worth of pay a week. Factory jobs such as running machines had a high injury rate, and the sweatshops and garment factories had some of the worst conditions of the time. What's more, there are no child labor laws in most states, and labor was considered an alternate to daycare. Furthermore, political machines, also known as grafts, dominated the government during the Gilded Age. Tammany Hall was a democratic political machine that controlled New York City politics in favor of the immigrants, especially the Irish. Fortunately, urbanization was not totally negative. It contributed to cities and still has an effect on our lives today. The first skyscrapers were built in this time period, and they were some of the tallest buildings in the Gilded Age. New technology sprang up in the cities: elevators for skyscrapers, suspension bridges, electronic trolleys, and electricity allowed for cheap housing. In addition, the introduction of street lighting and water and sewage systems allowed for the population to increase rapidly. Since some of the wealthy did not have to spend all their time working anymore, recreation centers such as museums, theaters, parks, and libraries slowly appeared. Vast mansions for the owners of large corporations such as John D. Rockefeller and Andrew Carnegie were also constructed. Two different philosophies were developed during urbanization. The Puritan work ethic emphasized hard work, frugality, and their prosperity as a display of a person's salvation in the Christian faith. On the other hand, social Darwinism was used by the wealthy to defend their money, claiming that they were the superior race and they outcompeted the inferior or lower class races.